Good morning. My name is Kevin Bird. I work with the Department of Workforce Services Unemployment Insurance Division. And this is our weekly briefing, and I will be reporting out on the unemployment numbers for the weeks of August 23rd through August 29th. We're going to talk a little bit about the data early on because we are seeing some promising trends when it comes to some of the data about some economic activity returning. And we'll start with new claims. New claims for the week ending August 29th were 4,591. Now, last week, that number was 5,628 new claims. So we actually saw a decrease of 18% from this last week to the week before. Traditional claims, which is a claim for the unemployment benefit that's state funded for those that are covered employees or employees of employers, that was down 13%. The pandemic unemployment assistance, which is an unemployment for the self-employed and is federally funded in a temporary program, also went down 22%. And then there's another benefit that's the extended benefit or the federal extended benefit, and that actually went down as well by 26%. So overall, we saw a decrease in new claims of 18%. We saw a decrease across all program types, and that actually ends a 3-week increase in new claims. So 1 week down is certainly not a trend, but it is promising to see that significant drop, meaning that less and less people are being disrupted with COVID-19 in this pandemic, or seeing less disruption to employment in the form of people having to apply for a new claim for unemployment benefits. Now, continued claims, it's important to remember that unemployment is week to week. So a person files the initial claim attesting to what their situation is. We make a decision, and then every week an individual has to file a weekly claim attesting to what happened during that week when it came to did they work, did they look for work, reporting those job contacts and reporting any earned wages. So continued claim is a good indicator of how many people not only are applying newly to it, but how many people continue to need or request that benefit. Total continued claims for traditional and pandemic unemployment assistance was down 13% for the week ending August 29th at 52,782. Now that number is down for 17 consecutive weeks. So every week while we get the 4,600 or the 4,600 people that applied this week, we're starting to see continued claims still drop. So more people are falling off the benefit than are applying for the benefit, which is a good indicator of economic activity returning. Traditional was down 14%, the state benefit, and then the pandemic unemployment assistance or the self-employed gig worker was down 8%. Now, one of the things that we have included in the briefing is we call it the 2-week indicator, where we're essentially trying to provide more of a real-time indicator of how many people are falling off the benefit, not just 1 week, but for multiple weeks. Usually it's better to let the data settle a little bit and lag, but we're trying to provide a little bit more of a real-time indicator to be able to show that individuals have fallen off, not because of an eligibility issue, but they simply did not request the benefit for 2 consecutive weeks. Over the last 3 weeks, that number, meaning an individual was receiving it, has not requested the benefit for 2 consecutive weeks across all programs, for 3 consecutive weeks has been over 7,000 individuals, which is a promising indicator that people are either returning to work they lost, are seeing their hours increase to the point where they're no longer needing the benefit, or finding work in a new industry and being successful in re-engaging in the workforce and no longer needing that unemployment benefit. It's certainly not a flawless number, but again, it is attempting to get a little bit more of a real-time indicator of how many people are no longer needing the benefit. Now, year-to-date numbers, I do want to highlight this for some historical context. Since the pandemic began, which was about March 15th, the department has taken over 290,000 unemployment claims, and that is across 24 weeks or about 6 months. So 290,000 in 6 months, a half a year. To put that into some context, last year, during the entire year of 2019, the department took 63,000 claims. So it's certainly a significant demand that we've never seen before. And it's 4 years of claims, nearly 5 years of claims in 6 months. Also, to date, the Department of Workforce Services Unemployment Division has paid out $1.4 billion in unemployment benefits to eligible Utahns since March 15th. To put that into context, in 2019, we paid out $150 million in benefits. So in the last 6 months, we have paid out $1.4 billion, and last year we paid out $150 million. So it's certainly a significant demand, but we've met that demand by paying out that benefits to really help stabilize individuals who have seen disruption, to flood that money into the economy, to try and keep businesses that are trying to stay afloat with that money coming into the system. In fact, it is more than 7 years of unemployment benefits have been paid out in the last 6 months. Now, it is important to keep in mind, a lot of those are positive signs or somewhat positive signs where you see the continued or the new claims going down, the continued claims going down for 17 consecutive weeks. But I don't want to be an overly happy Highland and only paint the picture of everything's going okay. It is important to know that claims are going down. And it's certainly lower than the historic volume that we saw in early May. So last week, again, we saw 4,600 claims. At the peak in early April, we received 33,000 claims in a single week. So 4,600 is significantly less than that. It is 18% less than we received last week. But for historical perspective, the most claims unemployment insurance ever took in a single week before the pandemic was in the Great Recession in 2009, 2010, and it was 5,000 in a single week. So this week, while it is down, it is near the record level pre-pandemic. So we're certainly seeing a significant disruption with this pandemic to individuals' employment. 4,600 is significantly lower than what we have experienced it, but it's still 4 times higher than the number of claims that we took last year on average. In fact, 427.11% higher. And also, it's important to recognize that continued claims has gone down. It has gone down for 17 consecutive weeks. And this week, it was down to nearly 53,000. And the peak was 126,000, but it remains 5 times higher than the number of people that were requesting the benefit in 2019. So while we are seeing economic recovery and individuals returning to work, it is clear this pandemic continues to be disruptive to people's ability to find employment and retain employment or get the hours they need. And so the demand is still there, and we're going to continue to meet that demand. But it also is important to remember, as a reminder, that there will be disruption to our normal service levels. But it's also important to remember that unemployment insurance is proactive. If there's an individual issue with your claim, the Department of Workforce Services will contact you. So there's not a need to contact the Department of Workforce Services. So we will continue to try and meet this high demand, pay out those benefits to those that are eligible. And if we have concerns or issues, we will contact you to resolve those and get those issues resolved. And then the last thing I think I wanted to talk a little bit about was the lost wages assistance. We announced about 2 weeks ago that the Department of Workforce Services applied for and was approved for the Lost Wages Assistance federal program. Now remember, that is a memorandum signed by President Trump that provides a $300 a week stimulus benefit to those that are eligible for unemployment benefits for a given set period of time. During the early stages of the pandemic, the CARES Act was passed and it introduced a $600 a week stimulus benefit to those that were unemployed. So the unemployment benefit would be calculated. If you were eligible, you would receive the benefit that you were eligible for, in addition to a $600 a week stimulus. That benefit ended on July 25th, and it returned to a 40% replacement wage of what people were receiving in their unemployment benefit with that $600 expiring. President Trump signed a memorandum allowing states to apply for and receive a lost wages assistance grant through FEMA, which is a different program than the Department of Workforce Services normally works with. Utah was one of the first 7 states to apply for and receive that benefit, and we have locked in 3 weeks of payments for individuals that receive payments from July 25th through August 15th. So it is not an active, ongoing benefit. It is a retroactive stimulus payment for those that are eligible for it. We wanted to make sure that individuals, that we received that for the state of Utah and paid it out to eligible Utahns so they could receive that $300 a week stimulus payment. Now, we continue to work on understanding that program, making sure that we're set up financially to be able to draw from FEMA, because it is a different funding stream than we've ever paid out before, and we are committed to pay that out within the next 2 weeks. But one thing that we did also find out is that we can apply for additional weeks of funds and make sure we gather those and get those set aside and allocated to the state of Utah, because we do know lost wages assistance has a max number of weeks that it can pay out. So Utah last week applied for and received 2 additional weeks of lost wages assistance of $300 a week, meaning that individuals that are determined eligible can now receive up to 5 weeks of the $300 a week payment. And that will now go from July 25th through August 29th. So again, it's for individuals that have already received the benefit, and if they are eligible, they will receive additional $300 stimulus. And so we're very proud that we're able to get that money, and we're working diligently to make sure that is paid out. We know there's some frustration about that, about the time to be able to get it, but again, keep in mind, please, it is a new program we have never done before. It has never been done by a memorandum or an executive order from President Trump. It's a different funding stream, and we want to make sure that it doesn't create any overpayments or issues for those that receive it. And so we are committed in the next 2 weeks. We were one of the first 7 states to ask and request it, and to date, only about 2 states have been able to pay it out. We believe we will be one of the very early adopters to be able to pay it out, with our goal of paying it out within 2 weeks. It is important to remember with lost wages assistance, we have an FAQ for those that have questions at jobs.utah.gov/COVID-19. It tries to provide the key questions that individuals have questions about with lost wages. But the most important is there is no need to apply for it. There is no need to call and request it. Anyone that received unemployment during the time period that we're talking about, July 25th through August 29th, will automatically be considered for the lost wages assistance. And if they are determined eligible, they will receive it in the same manner that they receive their current unemployment benefit. Now, one thing that will happen that's a little bit different than the $600 a week stimulus, based on the executive order of the memorandum, there are limitations to those that are eligible for the benefit. One of those is that you have to be eligible for at least $100 a week in unemployment benefits. So keep in mind that when you first apply, what we do is we look at your last 5 quarters of wages, and based on how much you worked and how much you earned, a calculation, a monetary calculation is done to calculate how much benefits of unemployment benefits you can receive in a single week. With lost wages assistance, if that number is less than $100, the individual unfortunately is not eligible for the $300 a week lost wages assistance. So that's one of the reasons why we're also taking some time. We have to make sure that individuals who receive it correctly, because if it is paid out incorrectly, it will have to be paid back. So we want to make sure that individuals who are only individuals who are eligible for it receive it. So unfortunately, due to the limitations of the federal memorandum, it's only for individuals who receive more than $100 a week in unemployment benefits. Now, the other thing is you have to be unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic. So we're working through that. One of the things that we did include early on in this pandemic is at the initial application, a question was asked if you were unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic, and we'll be using that as an indicator for eligibility. So again, we hope to have that available within 2 weeks. We will likely pay it out in lump sums due to the high volume of it and to ensure that it's working properly. But within 2 weeks, we hope to have that out to those that are eligible, and Utah has already requested up to 5 weeks. Lost wages assistance does have a limit. There are only a certain amount of funds available nationally. It is estimated that the amount of lost wages assistance available to each state is approximately 6 to 7 weeks only. So while this is a great benefit and a needed benefit to those that are on unemployment, it is temporary it will only be available for, we've already got the 5 weeks and we'll distribute those out, but it will only probably be available for a week or two after that, as once the funds have been exhausted nationally, there are no more funds available. And with that, we'll go ahead and take any questions. Yes. Okay, so for lost wages assistance, the clarification is okay, we originally announced 3 weeks, now they're 2 weeks. Can you kind of go over that again? So remember, lost wages assistance is a separate funding stream that was made available to states to pay up to $300 a week for those on unemployment benefits through FEMA, or a disaster fund. And so initially, a state could apply for it, but could only apply for up to 3 weeks of benefits. Utah was one of the first of 7 states to apply for and be approved for 3 weeks of payments, meaning the week ending August 1st, August 8th, and August 15th. 3 weeks, anyone that received a benefit during those 3 weeks, if long as it was over $100, could receive $300 additional stimulus per week for 3 weeks. And so we applied for and received that and immediately started working towards figuring out a way to distribute those funds. Funds remained as more and more states applied for and received it. And so what the state of Utah wanted to do is make sure to request additional weeks. So this week we applied for and were approved on 2 more weeks, the week ending August 22nd and the week ending August 29th. So to date, Utah has 5 total weeks for those eligible of $300 per week for those 5 weeks, from the period of July 26th, when the $600 stimulus expired, through August 29th. We will continue to apply for additional weeks of lost wages assistance as long as it remains available, but the current estimate is the max number of weeks a state can apply for and be approved for is probably 6 to 7 weeks. So Utah's already applied for the 5. When we are able to, we will also apply for the 6th and the 7th. But one day we will be told there are no longer funds available and the application for the grant will be denied because there is a set number of dollars set aside for this program. So one of the questions is, is one of the reasons why we're seeing a decrease in continued claims a result of individuals exhausting their benefit? And the continued claims is only currently accounting for those that are on the state benefit as well as the pandemic unemployment assistance. We have included the new claims for the extended unemployment benefit. That went down 26%, but over the last several weeks, it has been about 1,000 people shifting over to that benefit. Now, the question is, are the decrease in claims a result of people exhausting not only their state benefit, but that 13-week extended benefit? And I think the answer right now is no. We saw an increase in claims on March 15th, and that is 24 weeks ago. An individual that applies for unemployment is eligible for the max number of weeks is 26 weeks of a state benefit. In addition, there is a 13-week extended, so individuals can receive up to 39 weeks of unemployment benefits. So those that saw a disruption to their employment as a direct result of the pandemic are likely on week 24 at the max. So that decline in continued claims is actually not only because people are exhausting their benefit. That 13-week extension allows them to shift into that other benefit. It is individuals returning to work. And so we are seeing individuals returning to work, businesses starting to open up, economic activity starting to resume. But are people starting to transition into that extended benefits? Yes. And are individuals who are in that extended benefit prone to exhausting that benefit? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes. Remember, unemployment insurance is time limited. It's not an income-based program. So it's based on when you first file, it's looking at you file based on your wages earned. You make a claim against those wages. And then a calculation is made for based on how much wages you were earned during that time period, how much you would be eligible for, dollar amount, and how many weeks you would be eligible for. But once that claim is made, that's the only available weeks to the claimant. And so individuals that exhaust cannot continue on the benefit. That's when we made the decision a couple weeks ago to end the job-attached deferral simply based on the self-attestation of those that are furloughed. If economic activity is slow to return, certainly in industries that are struggling to return, such as large event industries or perhaps the hospitality or hotel industries that are seeing slow economic recovery, the unemployment benefit, unfortunately, will not last the length of this pandemic. We are in week 24. The benefit is only available for up to 26 weeks with an extended 13 weeks. And so right now is the time to look for work. And unfortunately, in some industries, it's going to be working in something that you have not worked in before because the job you are trained in that you like is not going to return within the next few months. But the benefit won't last through the rest of this year. Again, it's time limited for everyone. It is not income based. And so that's why it's really critical to look for work. And if you are in an industry that is struggling economically to return, and there does not appear to be an indication that that will return soon, looking for work temporarily or permanently in a new industry is critical before the benefit of unemployment exhausts. Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and end the briefing. Thank you.